afternoon and welcome to 3 Talk. I'm your host, Noleen Maolwana Sango. A big welcome to my studio audience today. South Africa is one of the 10 unhappiest countries in the world. That's according to a report released by the Happy Planet Index. Are we really an unhappy lot? What is making us unhappy and how do we go about finding the true meaning of happiness? That's what we'll be finding out today. We'll also chat to a few well-known faces about how they find true happiness and have our very own laughter therapy session with my live studio audience. What are some of the things that make you happy? Let me know. 086 2233 303 or drop me a tweet, Noleen 3 Talk. Please welcome my first guest, Llewellyn, a psychologist in the Industrial and Organizational Psychology Department at UNISA, as well as laughterologist and chairman at Joy Gym, Bilgi. Laughterologist. Laughterologist. Okay, so how do you become a laughterologist? Don't do that. No, don't do that because...
Sorry, I answered your question.
No, you did, because now I'm going to end up just laughing for nothing. Okay, how do you become a laughterologist?
Well, it is the study of making people laugh without jokes and comedy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can just look at me literally and just make me laugh.
I can make me laugh.
What makes you happy? What makes you laugh?
What makes me laugh? Life. I wake up laughing. I've trained myself, and it's the most wonderful way to start the day.
So what do? You wake up, you're in your bed, okay, with your duvet, and then you wake up, you open your eyes, and you laugh.
We actually train people to do it. It's stopping the wake-up process. You know, you just start to realize you wake up, and that's where we stop people.
Yeah.
And then instead of going on and opening your eyes and so on, one of our exercises, people can use laughter cream to start off with.
Laughter cream?
Laughter cream. You'll hear more about that later.
Okay.
But then just
laughter cream tickles my fancy.
Going back into laughter mode and laughing like you did when you were a child.
Okay. All right. So, Llewellyn, what makes us happy?
Well, research has suggested that there's basically 5 things that makes the individual happy.
Yeah.
First thing is we have to have positive relationships. That's very important, not only for social support mechanisms, but also provide us with a backflow of energy. Mm-hmm. Another thing that comes up from research is also regarding meaningfulness. Do I get a return on investment in the energy in which I put into things? Mm-hmm. But also, do I understand why I fit into the bigger picture? If your life doesn't have meaning, you can't be happy. So you need to be able to structure your interventions around understanding what makes me happy and what makes my life meaningful.
Yeah.
Flying also from that is accomplishments. We have to have specific goals that's set, and there needs to be a balance between my skill set and the goals that I have in my specific life. So, but if the goals are too high and my skill set is too low, it will cause me to fall into depression and severe stress and etc. The final thing we need to understand is that what really makes us happy is the backflow of energy which we experience as being pleasure. Right? The important thing is that we need to understand is that we can't build lasting happiness on the pleasure component. Pleasure is that what we see is what we smile and we're happy and etc. Yeah. But you can't build lasting happiness on that because of the hedonic treadmill, because our bodies are programmed in such a manner to get used to it. So if I used to explain it like heroin addicts. You inject yourself with a small little bit of this pleasure, and then you get this extreme high. And then afterwards, as you go along, you need more and more and more of the same type of thing to be able to get you to the exact same level where you were. Right. So you need to be able to structure your life or your happiness around the 4 other components, which is the meaning, the engagement, the accomplishments, and the relationships. And the pleasure is like the cherry on the top, the thing that flows from it.
But is what you're describing, are they not external factors?
Yes, basically, we've determined what really causes happiness is up to 3 things. The first thing is 50% of your level of happiness is genetically imprinted in you. You can't change it. 10% of that, only 10% of that, is affected by your environment. And 40% of your level of happiness is under your direct control. So if I can tell you, and you just referred to the
So
study,
you said 50% is genetic.
Genetics, yes.
So if I had bad parents who are were miserable, then I'm basically in trouble.
Well, it's not necessarily that. We specifically refer to things like bipolar disease.
Yes.
Now, bipolar is a genetic disorder which you can't cure. You can only manage with pills and therapy. Right. Now, there was an experiment done on 2 groups, an experimental group and a control group. And they asked the experimental group, all that you have to do is climb off your medication and climb off your therapy for 2 weeks. And all that we want you to do is to write 3 positive things down that you experienced during the day and 3 reasons why it makes you positive. They asked the control group to stay on their medication and their pills. Within this 2-week period, they found by just starting to think positively, the amount of manic, the extremely high, and the amount of depressive phases decreased by 89%. And the intensity of the emotions as well decreased by 75%. So that just tells you by restructuring your mind to think positively about situations, to look for the positive, already creates such a huge impact on your life. And comparing that then with people who are on their pills, I think that's tremendous.
Okay. All right. But then would you, because I think what Bill is saying is that it's inside. You can make yourself happy. Yes. Do you agree with the Bill's approach?
Yes, I agree with the whole approach of the intentional self-administered activities that you can do, but I would be very careful to structure my interventions on my happiness around constant laughing, and because you're building on the pleasure component, which is which we refer to as the hedonic treadmill. You constantly be getting used to this.
Hedonic treadmill, I like that.
Yeah,
I would love to be on the hedonic treadmill.
It doesn't make you lose weight though.
Oh, does it?
Believe me.
Well then, I'll stay away from the hedonic treadmill.
Laughter does help you lose weight.
Does it?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's a great exercise. We actually exercise all the muscles in our core. And they did a study.
So if I have to laugh how many times a day
you have to laugh a long time to make up for a candy bar, but it does help.
Okay, does it? Okay, he's such a jolly man. Honestly, do you ever have a bad moment, like a bad day? Because we all do.
Of course.
And how do you handle it? Because you can't laugh if something is really bad.
No, but our program is about much more than laughter.
Okay.
Laughter is part of it, and we use laughter to trigger the body's de-stress response.
Yeah.
And as a spirit lifter, and there's a lot of physiological benefits. Yeah. But really, what we do is we teach people, we educate people about laughter and stress.
Yeah.
We teach them mindfulness, so they start to understand what is making them happy and what is making them unhappy.
Okay.
And then we teach them how to change their behavior.
Right.
So that things that previously were perhaps very stressful stop being stressful.
Okay.
And that's really the secret.
Mindfulness. I like that. Mindful of everything.
Mindful awareness. It's simply, people are not aware of what makes them happy and what makes them unhappy.
Oh, I know exactly what makes me happy.
And what would that be?
A bar of chocolate.
That's strongly on that pleasure component. And
so I'm on the pleasure side.
On the pleasure side, the hedonic version of it.
Turkish delight.
Delicious, eh? But the problem there is that you're going on that hedonic treadmill again by looking for pleasurable activities and avoiding pain. There's 2 main philosophies that flows from happiness.
but hold on, Llewellyn. Pain you don't avoid, it comes. Pain is just, it's there, it just comes, you know. So you can't, you know, a bad incident, something happens to your child, something happens to your friend or your loved one, you know, it's there. And it's how you deal with that pain. It's how you deal with it, it's how you get out of that pain. That is the thing. But, you know, the hedonic treadmill, it's lovely to be on that hedonic treadmill every single day, though you can't wake up exactly and have a bar of chocolate.
And that's
but
where
you
the
can have a
eudaimonic,
laugh.
But that's where the eudaimonic approach comes in, about looking at what this thing is preparing you for, deriving meaning from this painful event.
Yeah.
We've done a study regarding people with HIV and AIDS and rape victims, and trying to get them to determine what is the meaning that they had to derive from this. Changing the mentality from the victim to the survivor triggers a different part of your brain. The part of your brain that starts to think positively about it, and it releases the dopamine. But so just by forcing yourself to start to think about your situation as a survivor rather than a victim, you're already creating connections in your neurotransmitters that causes you to start to experience this as something meaningful.
Yeah. Okay, do you have any thoughts to what Llewellyn has just said?
Absolutely. This is one of the profound changes that we've seen. We've been working in the HIV and AIDS sector with caregivers, with patients, people living with HIV and AIDS, and with children. And the amazing life change that happens when you get them to use their mindfulness to understand what is pulling them down and making them unhappy, and then reprogram their behavior so that no longer makes them unhappy and actually can become a positive.
Yeah.
And seeing people who have experienced terrible pain, either through death or the sort of pain that you were referring to, and simply by reprogramming their automatic behavior or their response to that, it stops. The pain goes away. Their life hasn't changed, but the stress and unhappiness is gone. That's it.
It's our attitude to circumstances.
It's how we behave towards those things.
How would you measure your happiness?
Well, are we talking about scientifically or in terms of my own life?
No, you.
Well, that's once again, am I living in accordance with my top signature strengths? If I have, let's say, my top strengths are humor and playfulness and kindness and generosity, if I can live that out in my life, and whether or not my work or my job permits it, if I can live that out in my life, I'm more inclined to be happy.
Okay.
So I would experience true happiness where there's a person-environment fit. The person who I am fits with the environment in which I am. I'm being authentic in terms of my relationships with myself. I don't have these little masks that constantly play off.
No, because that's so important. A lot of us put on these masks, and you're so unhappy because once that mask slips off, you don't know how to be. And that makes you incredibly low, incredibly depressed. Hedonistic treadmill.
Yeah, the hedonistic treadmill.
Hedonistic treadmill. I'm going on it during the break. Thank you so much for joining us. What is your definition of true happiness? Call me on 086 2233 303 or tweet me Noleen3Talk. Join us after the break for a laughter therapy session. We'll be back after this.